Are you ready to convert your AR or AK pistol into a short-barreled rifle and want to do it for free? This is Alan with Quarter Horse Arms. I know in a previous podcast I talked a little bit about how to fill out a Form 1 for the ATF so that you can legally convert your AR pistol to a short-barreled rifle and essentially get a free Class 3 weapon out of it. I also know there's been some debate about, should I do it? Is the government going to use this as an excuse to take it away? The answer is that's for you to decide. I happen not to think so. On the other hand, I have been wrong before. My wife tells me that all the time. On a more serious note, we're looking at a 2 to 4 week turnaround time from submitting the Form 1 and sending in all the required documents to actually receiving the Form 1 and saying, hey, you're the proud owner of a bouncing baby SBR. So where do you get started? Well, first, you need to go to the ATF eForms site. That is eforms.atf.gov. There's a bunch of things there, log in, create an account. There's a big red bar. Hit the red bar, and what it will do is take you to another screen, and that will tell you to create an account or log in, and you can just go ahead and do create an account. You will have to have one in order to process the e-form. So at any rate, once you create your account, you'll have a password, you'll have a PIN. You will need those numbers, meaning you'll need your PIN in order to complete the process, so right at the very end. Now, when you get to the first screen, it's going to ask you a bunch of things. Are you doing this as an individual, or are you doing it as a trust or some other organization or legal entity? The easiest one to do would be an individual. The reason for that the reasons for that are quite simple. Number one, when the ATF goes to investigate, they only have to do a background check on one person, you, the one doing the filing. If it's a trust, everybody that's listed in the trust has to fill out F5320.23, which is a responsible person's questionnaire. They have to have their fingerprints and photographs in addition to you needing your own. So that adds to the time. Now, does that mean you can't put it into a trust later? Absolutely. You can do that later. If you already have a trust, you can add it later. I'm not saying don't file it or request the paperwork as a trust. I mean, it's just faster one way versus the other. Okay, so once you hit that, and you'll go to the next screen, and you'll fumbling over words. All right, so you're saying the application is made by a trustee, a corporation, other legal entity, individual, or government. And so you want to check trustee or individual. The trustee is the person that is directly responsible for the trust, meaning the person that gets to make decisions. All right, if you select individual, or trust for that matter, there's a bunch of boxes, or a couple boxes. One says tax paid $200, or tax exempt, it's being made for the government. Or tax exempt being made for the state. The bottom one actually says tax exempt. This means you don't have to pay for it, okay? So, and it says, it requires additional documentation. No big deal. Okay, so that one's already selected. So even though it says $200 in different places, you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so if you're filling it out as an individual, it's going to ask you all of your vital information, name, address, what country you're in, your title for the submitter of the application should be hopefully you're the owner. And then it says, phone number for contact, your email address, your zip code, state, county, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got a whole bunch of questions that are on like drop-down menus that are very similar, in fact, pretty damn close to what the 4473 questions are. And you just select all of those and scroll down. It'll tell you to hit the next button. And then what it'll ask you to do is upload any responsible persons. Now, if you're an individual, you don't have to worry about this because you're putting all of your information in the document itself. The trust, however, is a separate entity, and everybody listed in the trust has to have a responsible person questionnaire done. That's the F5320.23. You can actually download these as PDFs or fill them out online and save them to your computer, and then you can always upload them later. Now, it will get weird. You will have to submit copies of the photographs. So you're going to be uploading the photographs, but you're also going to have to send in the originals. And at the same time, the same thing is true with fingerprints, only you won't be uploading your fingerprints. The eForm website only accepts them in a specific format. So basically, you're going to ignore that step and move on. Okay, and so once you get through all of that, you're going to see a thing that says Clio. If you haven't done a Form 4 or Form 1 before, this is your Chief Law Enforcement Officer. So typically that's the sheriff. So if you're out where I am in North Carolina, the agency would be the Alamance County Sheriff's Department. The name of the agency official is the sheriff, and the title is whatever, sheriff of Alamance County. They want the address of that agency. So, if it's on East Main Street in Graham, North Carolina, give them that info. And the county, zip code, because you are going to be required to submit a copy of the document to them. Okay, so that brings us through there. And then you're going to go to the next part where it says line item. I know it's a weird thing. And this is where you're going to see add firearm, print line items. So you're going to want to add a firearm. And what it's going to ask you for are, like, what kind is it? Who's the manufacturer? And the easiest thing to do is, that when you hit that button, add a firearm, the first thing that comes up by manufacturer, and if you type, fumbling over words again. So as you start typing stuff in by manufacturer, so let's say you have like a Springfield Saint, as you start typing, the letters, excuse me again, a whole bunch of manufacturers come in. There's this massive drop-down menu. So you can select the manufacturer of your weapon. And then the name of the original manufacturer and stuff like that. All right. So as you finish all this out, once you select the proper one, like for example, I use Springfield as the example. The choice comes up as Springfield Armory or Springfield Firearms. So I'm just going to select Springfield Armory. It'll verify the manufacturer. So you hit that and the ATF goes, gee, we understand it. Now there's two possibilities in this case. You have to select the country. So where was it done? And then it's going to ask you for a whole bunch of information. And it's going to ask you for the manufacturer, the model, the product type, the caliber, the length of the barrel, the overall length of the weapon, and the serial number. Okay, so Once you have the manufacturer, it'll give you a drop-down menu. So using my example, I typed in Springfield, selected Springfield Armory. I hit Next, and then all of the models come up. So if it was a Saint, there's a Saint, the Saint Edge, or the Saint Victor, plus all the other stuff they have is listed out there. So you can select whatever one matters. So you select that, you select the caliber. So, in this case, is it 5.56 or 300 blackout? So once you pick that, and then you have to select the unit of measure. So for example, if it's 5.56, you're going to select millimeters. If it is in inches, like 300 is 0.300, that's a caliber. So select the appropriate unit of measure. And then there's a place where now you have to measure the barrel. All right, and that will be from essentially where the barrel comes out of the upper receiver. So basically from the time you can see the barrel to the end. And then the overall length of the weapon. Remember, rifles had to have a 16-inch barrel, and anything below that constituted a short-barreled rifle. The length of the weapon, and it does vary. And so what you're going to do is I would go online, check with the manufacturer. They have spec sheets. So if you have the exact one, you can get the exact measurements down. Now, where does it get weird? Well, it gets weird if you tricked it out a little bit. So, let's say you changed the brace to something else. You're just going to need to do a new measurement. Okay, then you have to put the weapon serial number, and then it's going to ask for a description. So what you're going to put down, for example, and I'll just keep using my Springfield Saint, is going to be, the description is a Springfield Saint pistol or AR pistol. And why do you intend to make the firearm is the next box. Easiest thing is put down to make it compliant as an SBR per, the new ATF brace ruling. And so that covers how to fill out all the vital info. You don't need to launch into a paragraph about why you're doing it. And, my advice is do not launch into a political discourse on your views of the ATF and the laws. Remember, you want them to actually process this thing and approve it. Okay? So from there, once you've hit that and you're ready to move on to the next part, you're going to get to electronic documents. And so when you get to the electronic documents section, this is actually pretty straightforward. You have to include various documents. One, you need to select pictures or a picture of yourself. So again, if you're filling this out as an individual, you definitely want to put a picture of you. Easiest thing, photograph it on your cell phone, ship it to your computer. Now, I have not tried filling out this document on a tablet or on a cell phone. So my experience is solely with the computers, but regardless. It says file and choose file. Well, they kind of put it backwards. The box below that says select document type. And the two things you may want to do, first off, if it's a photograph, you need to have a photograph of yourself. So that's going to be the wallet-size photo, ultimately, that you're going to send to the ATF with all of the other paper documents. Then it's the other choices are going to be a corporate trust or other legal entity. So if you